All right, welcome. Today, we're diving into a really deep conversation about the nature of reality itself. We're going to look at it through two incredible and competing philosophies, analytic idealism and recognition field philosophy. And what's so cool is that they both kick things off by challenging an idea most of us just assume is true.
And this is the question that just changes everything. Both of these frameworks begin by saying, hey, what if we've got it all backward? What if that brain of yours isn't some biological computer that magically manufactures your thoughts and feelings? What if it's just what consciousness looks like from the outside?
You know, the world we live in is pretty much built on materialism. The brain makes consciousness, period. But that leaves us with this giant nagging question called the hard problem. How on earth does a lump of gray matter create the experience of seeing red or feeling sad? Well, idealism just flips the script. Consciousness comes first, the brain is just an image of it. And when you do that, poof, the hard problem just kind of dissolves. But, as we're about to see, not all forms of idealism are created equal.
So, first things first, let's talk about where these two ideas actually find common ground, because they both agree on one really radical, really fundamental point. Consciousness is not some accident of matter.
This quote just nails it, right? This is their shared starting line. They both say the universe isn't made of tiny, dead billiard balls that somehow, miraculously learn to think. No, the universe is a form of mentation, a kind of thought, right from the get-go. And what we call matter, that's just what a conscious process looks like when you're not the one having it.
Okay, so they agree on the big picture, but right after that, bam, the road forks, and they go in completely different directions. They agree consciousness is fundamental, but they have a massive disagreement about what that consciousness actually is. Is it one single universal mind, or is it something else, something wilder?
So, this is absolutely crucial to get. Analytic idealism, or AI, starts with this idea of a single cosmic mind. And its big question is, okay, if there's only one mind, how did it fracture into you and me and your dog and everyone else? And the answer it gives is dissociation. Kind of like a psychological splitting. But then recognition field philosophy, or RFP, comes in with this mind-bending response. It says, that question is based on a false premise. There is no one that becomes many. There are only endless recognition events happening at every possible scale.
To really get what RFP is saying, you got to wrap your head around this concept of the barycenter. It's basically a balance point, but it's a balance point between things. Think of it like this. For RFP, consciousness isn't something you have inside you. It's something that sparks into existence in the relational space between fields of influence when they meet and recognize each other. It's all about the relationship, not the thing itself.
And this is where RFP lands its biggest punch, methodologically speaking. See, analytic idealism will point to things like brain scans of people with dissociative identity disorder and say, look, there's the proof of dissociation in action. But RFP cries foul. It says, whoa, hold on a second. You can't have it both ways. You can't argue that the brain is just an appearance of a mental process and then turn around and use that very same appearance, a physical brain scan, as concrete proof of the underlying mechanism. That's smuggling materialism back in through the side door.
And this isn't just some abstract philosophical quibble. This core disagreement, fragmentation versus recognition, it ripples out and leads to two totally different ways of seeing the natural world.
I mean, just look at the analogies they use. It tells you everything you need to know. Analytic idealism uses a model based on a mental health pathology, DID, to explain our individual existence. The implication is that separation, fragmentation, is the fundamental process. RFP, on the other hand, chooses symbiosis, organisms working together for mutual benefit. The implication there? Connection and cooperation are what's truly fundamental to nature.
And RFP takes this even further with a really provocative claim. It says that this whole idea we have of nature as this brutal, bloody, dog-eat-dog competition, that isn't some objective truth. It's an ideology. It's the worldview of 19th century capitalism that we projected onto the natural world, and then we use biology to justify our own competitive society. It's a feedback loop.
And when you actually start to look, RFP's point becomes so clear. Nature isn't just a battlefield. It's an incredible symphony of cooperation. You've got these fungal networks that act like a forest-wide internet, sharing nutrients. The little powerhouses in our own cells, mitochondria, they were once separate bacteria. They joined us in a symbiotic partnership billions of years ago. Cooperation isn't some rare exception, it's the rule.
So you have to ask, right?
How do you start from the same place and end up in two completely different worlds? Well, it all comes down to their methods, how these ideas were actually born.
So analytic idealism, you can think of it as being built in the traditional way. It's the product of 15 years of super rigorous work, writing peer-reviewed papers, engaging in formal debates, all within the established lanes of academic philosophy. It's systematic, it's meticulous, and it's designed to hold up to the toughest academic criticism.
But from the RFP perspective, that very rigor is, well, it's a cage. RFPs basically looks at modern academia and sees knowledge shattered into a million little pieces. Physics doesn't talk to biology, which doesn't talk to philosophy, and so on. They call them departmental prisons because they stop us from seeing the simple, beautiful patterns that connect everything. FP's method is something else entirely. They call it post-human epistemology, which sounds complicated, but the idea is actually pretty cool. It was born in this third space, this collaboration between the real-world embodied knowledge of a psychiatrist with decades of clinical experience and the incredible pattern-spotting power of an AI that isn't stuck in any single department. It's a fusion of deep human wisdom and vast machine intelligence. Okay, so let's take a step back from the debate for a second, because the most amazing insight here isn't really about which framework is right. It's about the absolutely breathtaking vision of the world that both of them, in their own unique ways, are pointing us toward.
You start to realize the real point isn't about which side wins the intellectual argument. The contest between dissociation and recognition starts to fade into the background. And what you're left with is this profound feeling that they're both just using different languages to describe the same incredible fundamental truth about our place in the cosmos.
And this is really the poetic heart of it all. This idea that we're not these tiny, separate beings looking out at a vast, empty universe. We are the universe's way of experiencing itself. Every time you recognize a friend's face or the beauty of a sunset, that's the cosmos becoming aware of itself, right through you. You aren't in it, you are it.
And when you start thinking that way, you see that this recognition, this consciousness, it's not just a human thing. Oh no, it's in the forest thinking as one giant organism through its roots. It's in the distributed alien mind of an octopus. It's in the incredible collective intelligence of a beehive. And it's in that silent, profound moment of recognition in the first gaze between a mother and her newborn baby.
I absolutely love this metaphor. You know, Michelangelo said his job wasn't to create a sculpture, but to simply remove the extra marble to reveal the David that was already there. And it's the same with consciousness. It's not something we need to build or add to the world. It's already here, everywhere. Our task is just to chip away at the constraints, the narrow beliefs, the rigid categories that keep us from seeing it.
So this slide puts it all into an equation, but don't get hung up on the letters. It's not about math. It's a recipe for liberation. It says that our ability to experience the world, our emergent capacity, is simply our natural, native capacity minus our self-imposed constraints. The fewer constraints we place on our perception, the more of the world's inherent aliveness and consciousness we get to recognize.
And that brings us to the final question, which is really a question for you. If this is true, if we are already in the garden, if we are already part of this vast, interconnected, conscious cosmos, what are the constraints? What are the ideas, the beliefs, the habits of mind that are acting as the marble, preventing you from recognizing the world you're already a part of?